Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran and I'm going to go straight into it today. I will be reviewing the All Stars match, which was on Fox League and KO Sports over the weekend on Sunday afternoon. It was actually the game just before the Parramatta Eels and the Cronulla Sharks. If you are enjoying the content on this podcast, whether you're listening to it on Spotify or watching it on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow on the Spotify app, as it really helps me out massively, and I'd very much appreciate the support, that's for sure. Last week I reviewed the NRL Trials Week 1 of the pre-season Witzer Challenge. The other day, I should say, I reviewed Week 2 of the pre-season challenge, and I wanted to make this separate because to me, this All Stars game, it's probably not everybody's cup of tea, which would be fair to say. I think a lot of coaches, a lot of clubs don't like it anymore based on there have actually been some season-ending injuries over the years to some real good players that they've now missed out for the season for their club. So I can understand to that side of things, but I didn't want to review this with the NRL teams the other day because at the end of the day, I feel that this deserves its own podcast. I believe this game is really important in rugby league. You know, like I watch their cultures, I watch the way they perform before the games, and it's pretty inspirational stuff. And I'm not even there, and it makes me want to play rugby league. I'd love to watch it live one day. That's certainly on my bucket list to watch an All Stars game live because I think I would want to learn more about their cultures because I look up to their cultures, and I think it's pretty spectacular to see what they do. And I think that the NRL do a really good job at making sure they educate society with their cultures as well. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure we try and allow this game to continue because I think it may not be passionate for people like myself, but when I watch it, I feel like I want to be in the crowd because it's so passionate and so special for these players and so special for the game, which makes me all of a sudden feel passionate about it, if that makes sense. So if I think, the All Stars game is in 2 weeks' time, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm glad it's on, but am I overly excited for the game? Probably not. But in saying that, I also think it is really, really important that this match continues. I mean, you look over the weekend, Josh Addo-Carr is now the leading try scorer of Indigenous All-Stars history since 2010. So, 16 years now this game has been going on, 16, 17 years. And, that was a nice little moment for Josh Addo-Carr the other day. Jack Whiten, he just played his ninth All-Stars game for the Indigenous side. So it means a lot to these players. It means a lot to their families, their culture. It means a lot to them individually and as a team. And who am I to take that away from them in terms of as a fan? Why should I give my opinion when I don't understand properly their cultures? I don't understand properly how they've been brought up, or I don't understand. So for me to be a rugby league fan and want to take this game away from people such as Jack Whiten, Latrell Mitchell, I know he didn't play the other day, but he has many games. Nico Hines, Braden Trindle, James Fisher Harris. You see how passionate he is about his heritage, and I just think it's really, really special. I think it's a game that needs to continue, and I think the NRL have a responsibility to make sure that this game continues for many, many, many decades to come in rugby league. I can understand that coaches and clubs do not like it; they don't want injuries. I get that, but at the end of the day, I think the least we can do as a game and as fans is to make sure we give these players this opportunity to represent their families and their cultures. So I'll get straight into it. Over the weekend, I watched it Sunday night when I got home, and I thought it was, you know, it wasn't an overly high quality game of rugby league. There were quite a few errors. But for me, the standouts in the Maori side, Keanu Kinney. Wow. To think that this kid, just over a year ago, had such a bad neck injury that he was so close to being a paraplegic. To think that this kid's NRL career could have all of a sudden finished after only a few games for the Gold Coast Titans. To think, and I watch him now, and I think it's sure he's got the speed, he's got the talent, he's got the footwork, he's got the skill. He's the full package as a young fullback you want at the club. At any club, to be honest. He's absolutely fantastic. But what I love about Keanu Kinney is his story of how he's come back, of how he's actually found the motivation and determination to come back and play the football he is playing after such a severe injury to the neck. I think it is absolutely inspirational stuff from a young kid. And if I was a coach at the Gold Coast Titans, if I was on the coaching staff, you'd have to look up to players like him. You'd have to automatically put him in the leadership group, in my opinion, because he is somebody that has overcome serious challenges in his NRL career already at such an early and young age. In his NRL career. So I thought he was absolutely fantastic the other day. I thought Shans Nickel Clockstad, whenever he's named in the number 6 jersey, I just don't know. I think he's either a fullback or a centre. I just, he can do a job at 6, but at the end of the day, I just always wonder if they're better off going with it in another direction. For me, I thought he did a pretty good job. He set up that beautiful try, and what a pass it was. It was absolutely fantastic. I thought he got himself self-involved, and I thought defensively he was pretty strong as well. I thought Tim Murray Martin, it was good to see him play there for some minutes. I thought he did a really good job. James Fisher-Harris in the number 13 jersey. It was really refreshing to see him play a bit like Isaiah Yeo, where he took it to the line and started to become that ball-playing lock. And we all know that Fisher-Harris has an offload, but he totally changed the way he played in this game. I think he played close to 80 minutes in this game. I can't remember seeing him come off until I think late in the second half. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. What an inspirational leader he is. I thought the Maori side were really, really strong, really impressive. I thought young Zach Docker-Clay did a pretty good job as well. I think defensively he's really, really good. Britton Nakora, for me, was their best player. He set up a try with a kick to Dallin Zalesniak, and then he also put in another kick, which ended up being a 4-goal line dropout. But the meters he made, the strength, the aggression, he was so hard for the Indigenous side for the Maori side to handle. For the Indigenous side, he made it so hard for the Indigenous side to handle. He was absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic. That they for me were the standouts of the side. I thought. For me personally, I thought the Indigenous side, I thought they were going to win this game, and I actually thought they were going to win it well. I just thought they had more experience, and I was surprised that they didn't, to be completely honest with you. For me, Trey Fuller was absolutely fucking outstanding as the fullback of this side. He saved a try by getting to the board just before. If he dropped the ball over the line, then the Maori side would have picked it up and grounded the ball. So he played safe football. I thought he was quite good under the high ball. He just looked dangerous. Every single time he had the ball, he looked like he was about to break the line. He's so quick. He's so skillful. And I think if you're Christian Wolf watching this game, you really have a very good selection headache for the Dolphins. I mean, for me personally, I just think Trey Fuller's too good to not be in the starting 13. And I think the only position he can play really is fullback. The Hammer, he's played centre for Queensland. He's won Origin Series at centre before. I think he's an elite centre. So for me personally, I think you'd have to move Selwyn Cobbo to the wing, Herbie Farnworth and the Hammer, the best centre pairing in my opinion they would be in the NRL, and Trey Fuller at the back. He does have the occasional error in him. Defense probably isn't his strong point at times, but at the end of the day, I just think he's too good to leave out. I really do. I just think his attack, there's too much positive in the way he attacks to leave him out. And sure, I understand defense is the most important thing in rugby league. Defense does win games, but at the end of the day, the Dolphins, think about how many points they scored last year. Imagine with Trey Fuller on that side. Like, imagine the more points they could score. And no disrespect to Jake Averillo, but over the weekend, I thought his trial performance, he had a couple of really good runs, to be honest with you. But overall, I did question whether or not he would be starting in the centres this year for round one. So I think, let me know, Dolphins fans, in the comments, what you reckon they're going to do, and what would you guys do if you were the head coach, if you were on the coaching staff at the Dolphins? What would you do? Or just as Dolphins fans or any rugby league fans, please tell me, what would you do with Trey Fuller? Am I the only one that thinks he should be fullback? I just think his performance over the weekend for the Indigenous All Stars was absolutely fantastic. Josh Adokar, what a fucking player! To think where he was a year ago, getting sacked by the Bulldogs, he went through all that off-field drama, came back. For me personally, he was one of Parramatta's best players last year. I think he was in their top 3 players. He was absolutely fantastic. The energy, the enthusiasm that he brings into a club is absolutely it's so special, and I think it's really underrated for a player to just have that happiness about him, and just to have that larrikin and that character for an individual within a club. I think is really, really, really important. For every side needs to have at least one or two of those kind of guys in the side. And Josh Adokar, I think he really turned Parramatta into a club that was struggling and a bit down in the dumps to a club that all of a sudden has a bit of life about it. And I think he was fantastic in this game over the weekend. I want a special mention to Jack Whiten too. We've seen him when he started his career for Canberra. He played a lot of fullback for a couple of years there, and then I think it was actually early 2019. Ricky Stewart moved Jack Whiten into 5'8", and then he ends up getting the Dally M that year. He plays in the halves there until around 2023, and the back stages of 2023 he goes to centre and then signs with South Sydney in the 2023 season under Jason Demetrio at the time, goes to South for 2024-2025, and he plays centre for the majority of those 2 seasons, played 5'8" a couple of times. But for me personally, I think I just think him as a centre, the way he's able to pass the ball to his winger. I mean, it sounds simple, doesn't it? Like, you hear that and you think, oh yeah, well, I mean, if you're in the centres, all you got to do at times is draw and pass it to the winger. But the way he's able to time it, the way he's able to understand when to pass, when not to pass, when to dummy, when to go yourself, I think that in itself, if you're a centre, that there is like an art to that position, in my opinion. Defensively, as a centre, I think he's really, really good. And I think he was really great defensively over the weekend. I just think he's just got this natural ability of being able to play anywhere and do a fantastic fucking job. For those couple of years he played at fullback for the Canberra Raiders, I thought he did a terrific job there as well. In that fullback position when he was much younger. But now he's, 31, 32 years old. And I think he's done a great job for in the centre position for New South Wales. And I thought, if you're South Sydney, you've got to be really excited about this back line. Jack Whiten in the centres, one centre, Latrell on the other centre, Campbell Graham and Alex Johnston on the wings, Jai Gray at fullback. And I just think the way in which Jack Whiten was able to pass this ball, if you see a replay or if you watch the highlights of the All Stars game from over the weekend, or you want to watch it again after this podcast, just have a look at the way he passes to Adokar. It is really, really special, and it is just experience. And it is just also backing yourself and understanding when to pass it at a certain time. And as a rugby league fan, I love, it's not just that simple pass whenever, hope for the best. No, it's do I pass it now? I don't know. Hang on. Yep, I'm going to do it. Yep. I'm going to do it. Bang, back yourself. And you'll see a lot of centres, and no disrespect to Bradman Best, but a lot of the his passing game as a centre is really quite poor. And I've got no doubt. I mean, Bradman Best is 24, 25 years old. I've got no doubt by the end of his career, by the time Bradman Best is around Jack Whiten's age, around 31, 32 years old, I think that's something that he'll be really, really good at. I think it's sure, Bradman Best has probably played in the centres more games than Jack Whiten has, but he hasn't played I think he debuted in season 2020 for the Newcastle Knights. And just sometimes he just doesn't back himself. He doesn't know when to pass the ball. Sometimes he just gets all muddled up and he doesn't back himself at times. And when he does back himself at times, he should have passed it. There was an open man on the wing, so he does get confused. So there is an art to that position. I thought Jack Whiten did a really, really good job in that area over the weekend. Jaden Campbell, when he came on, I thought he was really, really good. Controversial no try at the end. My personal opinion is I actually thought it was the right decision. I thought there was a touch there, so I may be in the minority there, but in saying that, I thought the referee got it right, Belinda Sharp, in that final quarter. I thought Braden Trindle was really, really good. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And, I think over the years, you talk about Trindle and Hines, and they've been the halves partnership now for a few years in the Indigenous All Stars team, and you think, oh yeah, if you're an Indigenous All Stars supporter, or you're a rugby league fan like me that would like to see the Indigenous side win, then I think it's really you feel safe with this halves combination, and I think it's at the point now where you have to accept that. They're probably one of the only sixes and sevens in the competition where Nicho Hines really is a six. And Braden Trindle really is the seven. But for some reason, Hines wears the seven and Trindle wears the six. And I think they've just got this way of adapting on the run. And I thought their final series last year, the way they combined in those couple of games against the Roosters, I think it was, and the Canberra Raiders, I thought they did a really good job as a halves partnership. And, I thought they played pretty well together in this game. I thought Hines did a pretty good job. He then moved to fullback, I believe. And I couldn't see him at one point. I was wondering if he came off, but he ended up going to fullback when Fogarty came on. And Fogarty didn't play overly too many minutes, but I thought he did a pretty good job when he came on and steered the ship, came on and played halfback there. And yeah, I thought, I thought Connor Watson scored a really good try. I thought he was really strong. And now that Reece Robson's broken his hand and expected to miss the opening couple of months of the NRL season, I think Connor Watson is one of their only choices to wear the number 9 to start the season for the Sydney Roosters. And, he wore the 9 over the weekend, and I thought he was absolutely terrific. His support play is really good too at dummy half, and he just gets involved. And you can see he's one of these players that has had injury after injury after injury, and he's come back the last couple of years, played Origin, one of the Roosters' best players now, in my opinion. And just to see him wear that Indigenous All-Stars team jersey, you see how much it means to him, especially after he scored the try and Josh Addo-Carr jumped up on him and they celebrated. And I think that was, one of the first tries of the match. And one thing on Sunday too is what I noticed is Blake Steep, who wore the number 13 jersey. What a story he was last year in the NRL. He was absolutely fantastic. For me, he was one of the best players over the weekend in that All-Stars game. Blake Steep scoring a try. I thought he was really, really strong. I thought for me, he was probably in the top 2 best players. I think him and Josh, I think Josh Addo-Carr was definitely up there with one of the best players. Yeah, I think James Fisher-Harris and Blake Steep were probably the 2 best players over the weekend for me in that All-Stars game. So there you go. I mean, look, it ended up being a draw, and I actually previewed that game last week, the All-Stars game, and I said, would not surprise me if this game goes into Golden Point. And I was wrong. I didn't realise that game didn't go into Golden Point. I thought the NRL trials it as a draw, but I think I just automatically assumed, and I forgot that there was a draw only a few years ago in the game, but I automatically assumed that the rules may have been different for this game. And I personally believe they should be. The Maori fans in New Zealand were booing at full time because at the end of the day, the crowd wanted it to go into extra time. The players were looking at the ref wanting it to go into extra time. And I think, I think out of all the preseason games, if there's going to be a game that goes into Golden Point extra time, it's the All-Stars and the World Club Challenge. So for me, I would love that to be changed over the off-season next year. It'd be really good to see a finish. Zach Docker-Clay went for the field goal in the final seconds of the game, got charged down. Nicho Hines was in a perfect position to kick it from 20 metres out, and the ball didn't go to him. Went to the right edge, and I think they blew a couple of opportunities there, the Indigenous All-Stars. For me personally, I thought the Indigenous side were the better side. I just thought they looked better in attack. I thought they controlled possession better. I just thought they had more momentum and they looked more dangerous. But at the end of the day, they couldn't capitalise on their opportunities. And overall, I thought the Maori defence at times were fucking outstanding. Like the amount that the Indigenous All Stars threw at them, especially in the second quarter, I thought their defence at times, especially Britton Nakora, what a fantastic defender on that left edge. I thought he was absolutely terrific over the weekend. So that is the All Stars 2026. I've shared my thoughts and opinions on the match and on the future of the game. I think it is really, really important that we see it from the players' point of view and from fans that are involved in these cultures. I think we have to see it from their point of view as well. And I think it's a game that I'd love to see continue for decades in the greatest game of all, rugby league. So that is the Rugby League Forecast podcast for today. Now, guys, if you don't know, tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time is the Broncos and Hull KR. So that is going to be a really great game. For me personally, I think the Broncos are going to win this and win this really fucking well. I've listened to SEN, I've listened to the radio, I've listened to a couple of other podcasts. A lot of people think this game's going to be low scoring and tight because there's expected to be wet weather. My opinion is I just think the Broncos are going to absolutely fucking dominate them. I really do. I think it's going to be one of the biggest wins we'll see in World Club Challenge history. Oh, I know that's a big call, but like I just look at the opposition team. I think one of the reasons why Hull KR won last year was because of Jared Warrior-Hargraves, his leadership, his presence, his aura. He's not there anymore. I think he's a massive loss. I think, Peter Hiku, Oliver Gildart, I think Gildart's marking up against Katoni Staggs, and, Gildart's a pretty good centre, and he played a couple of games for the Tigers back in 2023, I think it was, but up against Staggs, like I think this could be quite, as long as Brisbane control the ball, as long as they don't come up with overly too many errors, which they are known for at times. One to watch there is this Alblix Tawa. On the edge. He's going to replace Brendan Piakura, who's injured. So he's going to start in that 12 jersey, in that 11 jersey, I should say. Jordan Ricky's in the 12. Have a look at him because he's expected to start the season in that jersey. Hearing great things out of the Broncos camp and in rugby league circles, that he's going to be someone to really watch. Come over from the Dolphins. I haven't seen overly too much of him, but I think it was on Fox League a couple of weeks ago. Was it Kevin Walters or somebody was interviewed somebody and they mentioned him saying he was one of the best trainers at Brisbane over the preseason. So I'm really, really looking forward to the World Club Challenge tomorrow. Personally, I don't like the Broncos, but at the end of the day, they are representing the NRL. And only because I'm a massive New South Wales fan, they're not one of my favourite teams at all. But at the end of the day, what they were able to achieve last year as a rugby league fan, you have to sit down and appreciate the way they won, the way they came back in those finals games. For me personally, it was by far the best final series we've ever had since 1998 when the NRL began. So the All Stars game, that's it. That's the review. World Club Challenge tomorrow. And then, of course, you've got the other couple of games, Friday night football. The football's back, ladies and gentlemen. It is fucking back. I am so happy. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.